guys, Brain here. Welcome to what amounts to kind of a impromptu commentary video, because if you guys didn't know, the news broke today that the Hi guys, Brain here. This is the, actual video now. This is where the commentary video actually begins. And it is true, everybody. Unfortunately, Pinhead is being removed from the game of Dead by Daylight, meaning that they cannot be purchased in the store any longer. This includes his cosmetics, so if you guys do not own all the cosmetics for Pinhead, that being the Hell Priest outfit and the Chatter outfit, you better do that now, because everything leaves on April 4th, so you get about a month to get in and get everything you want to get. So not only purchasing the actual character itself, but the skins will also be going on April 4th. So you got to get that done before that happens. This obviously comes with a lot of big implications, fearful claims, even toxically positive claims, such as the Dead by Daylight community. So I wanted to sit down and clear up as much of that up as I can for you. So let's get down to it. First off, some people are under the impression that losing the Hellraiser license means that Pinhead is being removed from the game entirely. I've been seeing a lot of players on DBD social media rejoicing that they're not going to be able to face Pinhead anymore and how that's going to make their games so much better when they go on Survivor. And sorry to break it to you, just like when we lost the Stranger Things chapter, anyone who owned the characters before the chapter went away will still have the ability to play them. That's how it worked with that deal, and that's how it's going to work with this deal. So for those of you that were super excited to not have to face Pinhead anymore, you're still going to be facing Pinhead. It's just that you're not going to be facing any new Pinheads. The population of Pinhead will stagnate and remain completely the same, but you still have to face the character. Another misconception I have seen, unfortunately, is that Pinhead can no longer be adjusted from a balance perspective since we have lost the license. This comes up because last year, Behavior actually announced that Pinhead was going to get changes, but those got pushed back into some point in 2025. Once again, unfortunately, people are just misinformed with this one. If you remember, Demogorgon was removed from the store back in 2021 and came back to the game in 2023. And during that time, Demogorgon did receive balance changes to his kit. So to assume that characters removed from the store cannot receive balance changes is just flat out incorrect. And another major note, losing the Hellraiser license means that all teachable perks from Pinhead come to the game now as general perks, just like what happened with Demo, where stuff like Surge ended up being renamed to Jolt. It became general perks you can find in the Blood Web. That is going to be happening to Pinhead's perks. General perks are great because you don't have to prestige anybody in order to get them, meaning that you don't have to buy anybody and you don't have to spend blood points on anybody. You just spend points in the Blood Web on any character and you just get them right away. This is important because new players don't have the luxury of buying up all the characters in a game that they don't necessarily even know if they're going to enjoy, meaning that they're mostly relegated to underwhelming builds that may, ergo cause them to not enjoy the game and keep them from continuing in the long term. This is even more huge just in the sense that all of Pinhead's teachables are really, really good. Even just for general players who play the game already and already invested in Dead by Daylight, Pinhead is still a high unlock priority character if you want to get your teachables on the killer role. Plaything is an excellent perk that applies Oblivious, but also pairs well with a lot of other hex totems like Hex Pentimento. We will get to that. Deadlock, which is just a safe and surefire slowdown. I actually recommend Deadlock as a excellent perk if people are trying to learn the game, because it is a slowdown that you don't actually have to input anything. It just kind of happens. So you can just get used to your character's power or to the killer role without being necessarily overly punished by good survivors. And lastly, we have Scourge Hook, Gift of Pain, which has been kind of up and down in its history of Dead by Daylight, but now is in a fairly good spot, and it actually benefits off of hooking multiple survivors, so it kind of encourages a healthy gameplay style with that. So all of three of those are going to be made into general perks and renamed. Now, I see this as an extreme positive because over the years, killers really don't have a lot of really good options when it comes to general perks available in the Blood Web. It's like we used to have Surge and Sloppy, and that was kind of like the big two that you would get from general perks. But Surge is obviously Demogorgon's perk, so when Stranger Things returned to the game, it unbecame a general teachable and went back to being Demo's teachable. And then Sloppy Butcher kind of suffered really bad when Behavior decided overall that they were going to nerf Mangled and Hemorrhage as status effects, period. So now killers really don't have a whole lot of options to run without spending a whole lot of money on a lot of different characters. But this is going to be huge and allow them to have 3 amazing perks that even people use when they've unlocked everybody right out of the gate. Now, on the flip side, I've seen a lot of Survivor mains lament this decision, frustrated that the early games of Dead by Daylight are going to be much harder. I find this to be kind of a confusing sentiment because by the time most people are trying and taking DBD actually seriously, the other end of the equation, that being the killer, probably has also spent some time leveling up some characters and has access to some of these perks anyways. Where I do think this will be a problem, and this is more of a wider DBD issue and not necessarily an issue with Pinhead's teachables, is that newer players aren't as familiar with status effects and strategies, and that's because Behavior has a very, very bare bones approach when it comes to teaching people how to play this game in the tutorials. So this will have an adverse effect on them, especially when it comes to Plaything, especially if they pair this with Pen and Menno. Obviously, the safer play on the Survivor side is to leave up Plaything if there's a Plaything Pen and Menno combination and just play super safe while oblivious and avoid feeding Pen and Menno stacks. However, new players are not going to understand this. They're just going to see they're oblivious, see the Hex Totem go cleanse it, and when that is cleansed, obviously the killer player is going to snowball with a bunch of Pen and Menno stacks right out the gate. So I feel like Behavior's reluctance to do better when it comes to explaining the game to new players is definitely going to have an adverse effect on the new player experience with Plaything coming into the mix as a general perk. The last thing that I want to bring up is kind of an odd thing, really. I've seen a tremendous amount of the community swearing up and down that Pinhead is going to be right back, whatever that means, and there's no reason to gloom and doom when the chapter is just going to come back anyways. First off, there's quite frankly zero evidence to support this whatsoever. People are quite literally pulling this out of their behinds. It's fine, like, people deal and cope with bad news in different ways, and some people is just like, you're not at that acceptance stage yet. That's totally fine. But where I take issue is people are scolding people who are feeling down or upset that the chapter is leaving and telling them to, oh, it'll just be right back. I don't get why you're being all gloom and doom. Like, you're basing this off of nothing. You're basing this, it's just a feeling. You just feel like it'll come back. There's no evidence to support that it'll just come back. So to shame other people for feeling bad that the chapter is leaving is just quite frankly bullshit. Listen, I'm one of those people that, you know, yucking other people's yums is really lame. It just feels bad. Let people enjoy things. On the flip side, yumming people's yucks can be just as frustrating, if not more. I would be quite frankly shocked if they would go through all of this trouble to remove it if it was just going to come right back. This feels just like far more trouble than it's worth, and it definitely is going to be gone for at least a moderate period of time. Keep in mind with Stranger Things, for example, we lost the license for 2 whole years from 2021 to 2023. Now, I know all licenses work differently. This is not just like, you know, the status quo, everything will go that way, but to scold people be like, oh, well, it's just coming right back. It's like, this is not how this stuff works. You have no evidence to prove that it's coming right back. So stop trying to modify and patrol what people feel and think about this situation. Just let people have it. You don't need to shove your toxic positivity in there. You know what's funny? I've been spending most of this video kind of just talking about how other people feel about the situation, but I actually haven't really talked about how I feel about the situation. So I don't know. I just think it's a tremendous shame that we're losing Pinhead. Pinhead was never one of my favorite killers, but my close friend Field Agent Reaper kind of made an entire DBD career off of excelling at Pinhead and teaching them to other people. And obviously now that second half of that is going to go away because he can only teach Pinhead to people who already previously owned the character. DBD as well has kind of just always been kind of a horror movie hall of fame. This is where you come if you want to play some of the most iconic characters from the genre's greatest hits. So to lose the license to Hellraiser, which is definitely one of those legendary franchises, it just sucks, and it's rough to see them go. Hopefully down the road, Clive Barker and Behavior can find common ground again. I know that there was a map planned for Pinhead at one point that they ended up scrapping, and maybe we can get Kirsty as well if they can resettle something like that on good terms. But that's just essentially just a pipe dream at this point. I will say also as well, the way we got the Pinhead license in the first place was super shady, and we had to make a deal with a very greedy, awful NFT company. So if that happens, we don't have any ties to that anymore. Those of you guys who've been with the channel for a really long time, remember that is the closest I have ever come to quitting Dead by Daylight, is when they kind of bait and switched us with the supporting NFTs thing. So won't have that anymore. Won't have that bad baggage anymore. But that's only if they decide to renegotiate, settle something. But like I said, no evidence to support that right now, so that's just a pipe dream. Anyways, how do you guys feel about Pinhead being removed from Dead by Daylight? What do you guys feel about the situation? How do you feel about the weird ways that the DBD community is reacting to the situation? Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, it's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Hopefully I made your day a little bit better. If I did not, well, I'll try to do so again in the next video. But if I do not see you then, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.